Welcome to Electrified. It's your host, Dylan Loomis. Quick shout out to my newest patron, Michael VBF. Thank you for choosing to support the channel. All right, so here we have it, the Grok in our Tesla's leak. We have well-known hacker Green the Only, and he has some screenshots and information about the Grok functionality. Obviously, this is not live yet, but he did clarify this is already in the modern firmware. So effectively, that just means all Tesla would have to do to turn it on is flip a switch. The problem with that is we don't know how many more features Tesla wants to add to the functionality before going live, but this is a very encouraging sign that it should be around the corner. But as always, to keep our expectations low, it could still be another few weeks or months until customers actually have this. But Green did say Grok currently requires premium connectivity and pairs to your existing account. Here's the standalone app in the menu. You can see this banner on the bottom left, premium connectivity is required. Here's a prompt to scan the QR code with your device and log in to your Grok account. So hopefully your past conversations will be accessible through this app. And with this screenshot, it's kind of hard to tell, but it says, hey, and then your name, how can I help? There is a drop down for the name, so it sounds like you'll have the option to pick a few different names for it to talk to you. And then another drop down that says assistant, so you may get to choose a few different modes, and there is a settings wheel. Here we have an expanded shot, Ara, the upbeat female voice, Rex, the calm male voice, and Gork, the lazy male. And one more shot of that screen. Then for that assistant drop down, you also have other options, language tutor, therapist. It looks like the next one is storyteller. And there is an enable NSFW, not safe for work, and also a kids mode. Those appear to be the only two settings for now. Green said right now there's no wake word, like a way to activate it with your voice. It looks like you have to press a button. But he said wake word functionality is definitely there, possibly coming a bit later. Green was asked if this integration will replace or supplement the existing voice control system, or if it's just for entertainment, aka can we use it to navigate somewhere? Green said, I think that's the eventual plan, but it's unclear yet how much car control the current implementation has. Akash asked, wait, is it already on the cars? To which Green said, yup. Which brings us to a buzzkill. Mark asked, does it work on Intel CPUs? And Green said no, not at present at least. But even if you have a hardware 3 vehicle, as long as you have the AMD Ryzen chip, you will most likely have access to Grok whenever it releases. BMW asked, is the premium connectivity requirement waived if connected to Wi-Fi or a hotspot? And Green said it does not look like it. In case you have not been around Electrified for a while and you don't really know who Green is, he's doing all of this with a test bench, but he said it's annoying to connect audio and microphones to it, so he hasn't done that. And later, Green said he does not have an actual AMD-based car to make a video in yet. And before you go offering yours up, you will be voiding your warranty. Green said most of these features came with software 2025.14 with some minor additions in 2025.20. Again, just to make it abundantly clear, Conway asked, you integrated this yourself, correct? It's not part of an update yet, to which Green said no, it is already fully integrated and it is part of the update. Green said for now, Tesla does not want it to be active on a majority of cars yet for unknown reasons. FSD Test Pilot said, I'm betting it's just a really good voice assistant not controlling the car in any way, to which Green said, well, internally it's part of Car Assist module. So I think if the integration is not fully there yet, it will come later. But again, he said he can't test it right now because he doesn't have a mic. I'll pause right here and remind everyone, Tesla and XAI are likely going to find an MVP, a minimum viable product to go live with. It's most likely not going to be some massively robust software that controls every part of the vehicle and has every single feature that we want. However, all of the bells and whistles are likely to come out in time. So my expectation is that long term, yes, you will be able to control a significant amount of your car functionality with Grok. So HVAC, navigation, music, the whole nine. But I don't think that functionality will be available right when this releases. I think that's going to take time. When it comes to having a wake word versus needing to press a button, Green said I looked into it a bit more. The button actually switches the mic on and off. So when you're on that screen screen, it seems like the app listens and transcribes and interacts all the time until such a time as you press the mic button to turn it off. Green said it's behind a server-side switch, so Tesla can enable it on all the cars running 2025.20 today if they wanted. Green said Grok will definitely support English and Chinese and another 1 or 2 languages. And so that about sums it up. Most of you know how excited I am for this feature in Tesla vehicles to be able to drive or ride along and interact with Grok. This is hands down the most tangible news or leak, however you want to classify it, when it comes to Grok in our Tesla vehicles. Again, what does that mean for our timeline to actually get this? It really depends. Maybe Tesla and XAI do want to make it a bit more robust before going live, but given it's already in the firmware, I'd be comfortable saying sometime in Q3 this is likely to go live. Tomorrow morning, July 2nd, we're expecting to get Tesla's Q2 P&D report. Troy Teslike's final estimate, 356,000, and if you missed yesterday's video, the analyst consensus is 385,000. As I've been saying for the entirety of the quarter, I've been looking ahead to Q3 now for many weeks. And listen, I hope you guys would agree I'm not at a place where I'm saying Tesla's car deliveries don't matter, but I am with Sawyer in the sense that these P&D reports have never mattered less for Tesla's business model. It's simply a cold hard truth. You do not invest in Tesla stock right now for its car deliveries. Elon would say the same thing. The only reason to be buying or even holding Tesla stock right now is because you believe in both unsupervised FSD and Optimus, with a side of energy. Jordan from The Limiting Factor said a reliable source inside Tesla provided him with some information on their new LFP factory. These production lines are known at Tesla as Project Howard. The production lines are indeed inherited equipment from CATL to make LFP cells that are assembled into modules and packs. So this is confirmation that the modules and packs will also be produced at this site. The battery packs will be used to power the Megapack XL and Megapack 3 that will be produced in Lathrop and at the new Megapack production facility in Texas. Jordan said Megapack XL is the current Megapack and Megapack 3 is the upcoming version of the Megapack that Tesla said will incorporate more of the grid equipment into the container itself to accelerate deployments, which may be coming in 2026. The LFP cell production equipment in Nevada is enough for 7 to 8 gigawatt hours of cell production. Jordan's guess is that would be split into 2 LFP cell production lines. The source advised these cells will not be used for vehicles. Jordan said EV and grid storage cells are different and you cannot just swap between those 2 cell types without a prolonged shutdown. And we touched on that briefly yesterday, but I do stand by my point that a few years down the line, this may change. So, an awesome update from JG. If you see this, thank you, sir. Again, as mentioned, when it comes to the 45X production tax credit, now that we know Tesla will be assembling these cells into modules and packs on site, that's important information to have, but I'm still going to wait to do some analysis until this big beautiful bill is officially signed into law. After Omiad Afshar's departure, we now have Bloomberg reporting that Elon is going to assume oversight of Tesla's sales in Europe and the US. And that Elon and Tom Zhu, a senior vice president of Tesla, are divvying up reporting lines. Zhu will continue to oversee Tesla's sales in Asia and take over manufacturing operations globally. With Zhu now responsible for manufacturing globally, his direct reports include Hiroshi Sagar, who oversees Tesla's factory in Fremont, and Jason Shawhan, who oversees Giga Texas. Troy Jones remains the Vice President of North America Sales and now reports to Elon. It's unclear if the revised management structure is permanent or if reporting lines could still change. As a quick refresher, Tom Zhu joined Tesla back in 2014 and pretty quickly worked his way up the company, eventually overseeing the construction and the opening of Tesla's first factory overseas in Shanghai. Then in 2023, he was promoted to Senior Vice President of Auto Operations, which expanded his role to cover global production, sales, deliveries, and service. And that's when he moved to the US. But then last year, Zhu ended up going back to China and took over over a more regional role. It looks like the day has finally come when a non-Tesla influencer has officially received a Robotaxi invite in Austin. We have Ethan McKenna with 208 followers officially getting the invite. And how did he get it? He filled out the interest form on the Robotaxi page of the Tesla website. And no surprise, yes, he does live in the Austin area. We have another account, Gregory, saying his stepson who lives in Austin, a Tesla owner and shareholder, also just got the Evite and 10 minutes later was heading out on his first ride. And Sawyer said he's getting more and more messages from people that have just been invited to Tesla's Robotaxi service in Austin. All of these individuals are just regular people. And here's the DM just for proof. And the word is we're still at 11 vehicles deployed and the pricing is still $4.20 per ride. I'm curious to get your thoughts on this one. Kyle Paul did some testing of a Hardware 4 Model Y with a dummy and one of these slow signs. He ran a dozen plus tests, and in most of them, the vehicle performed fine, although he would have liked to see it slowing down a bit more than it did, as in some cases, it would go past the dummy or the slow sign a bit faster than he would have. But have a look at one of the last tests.
Would Tesla respond? How would Hardware 4 respond if only had a split second to react? There's just not enough time. About a second before impact, 15 feet away, Hardware 4 sees the dummy, but can't make the full stop.
First of all, if you're not familiar with Kyle, this is not a Dan O'Dowd situation. From everything I've seen from him, he does his demonstrations in good faith, just trying to see how it genuinely goes. He's not looking for a narrative. My question is this. I think most of us would agree FSD is usually pretty cautious around actual humans and pedestrians. So do we think the system is smart enough to recognize that this is a dummy and not a real human? I say that because FSD driving around my neighborhood, if there was an actual human on the side of the road, kind of like this dummy, I believe FSD would be slowing down in anticipation of that human doing something, especially if it looks like they're going to cross the street. So the question, if that was a real human running into the road, do you think the system would have reacted any differently? Tesla Charging said superchargers are made in America. Congrats Giga New York on building the 600th PSU, which is pre-assembled supercharging unit, and the 25,000th V4 supercharger post. Max from Tesla said they're opening a supercharger stall every 37 minutes. And I have to say, I find this so rewarding after all of the layoff noise from last year when Tesla laid off a big portion of the supercharger team. Many people were calling for the end of the supercharger network as we know it, but by and large, they've continued plugging along just as they were, growing the network, making improvements, and making everything more efficient as they go, with the best uptimes in the industry. And we're now officially in Q3, which is the quarter when Tesla plans to start deploying some of these V4 cabinets, which will finally enable 500 kilowatt charging for the Cybertruck. But remember, the sexy lineup will still be maxing out at 250 kilowatts. But the V4 cabinet can now power up to 8 charging posts, which is twice as many as the V3 cabinet, which reduces site complexity and minimizes the amount of electrical work required. And it's also a smaller footprint. Tesla Charging shared that in Q2, they opened 3,500 supercharger stalls, which is 18% growth year over year. On the Tesla website homepage, they now have the video of the world's first autonomous car delivery. It is, of course, the shorter 3-minute version. Frankly, guys, I don't want to talk about this any more than you want to hear about it, but just for the sake of being thorough, here's what Trump said late last night about Elon. Elon knew long before he strongly endorsed me for president, I was strongly against the EV mandate. It's ridiculous and was always a major part of my campaign. Electric cars are fine, but not everyone should be forced to own one. Elon may get more subsidy than any human being in history by far, and without subsidies, Elon would probably have to close up shop and head back home to South Africa. No more rocket launches, satellites, or electric car production, and our country would save a fortune. Perhaps we should have Doge take a good hard look at this, big money to be saved. I'm not gonna dwell on it. We know this is mostly nonsense. I believe this is very childish behavior from Trump. Some of these statements are flat out lies. I'm just saying we've been through this before, and I think a few weeks from now, and once again, this will largely be a thing of the past. As we've said umpteen times on the channel now, Elon has been talking about cutting all subsidies for years. There never was any actual EV mandate to begin with. It was really just emission standards that companies had to hit, but they had unlimited flexibility to hit those numbers however they see fit. Elon said early this morning, I'm literally saying cut it all now. All being the subsidies, not just for Tesla and sustainable energy, but for oil and gas as well. Thankfully, so far Elon has been holding back. He said it's so tempting to escalate this, so tempting, but I will refrain for now. The back and forth and the fighting was of course over the big beautiful bill, which yes has now officially passed the Senate by a 51-50 vote with JD Vance being the tiebreaker. So the bill will now go back to the House before it'll be able to make it to Trump's desk. And now they're saying the House could reconvene as soon as Wednesday this week, and Trump is still pushing to have this signed into law by July 4th. It's not a done deal yet, but if this is signed into law by this weekend, then next week we'll actually get into the bill and the details and all of the changes and talk about how it's going to impact Tesla's business. I would just say this, I think one easy lens to filter out all of the noise is to ask yourself one simple question. Is this going to have a material impact on Tesla's unsupervised FSD rollout and/or its Optimus production? If the answer is no, and if you are a long-term investor, then by and large, I think you can classify whatever that thing is as noise. Now, yes, I'm using noise fairly liberally here because something like this, the big beautiful bill that's going to cut a lot of Tesla's credits, is absolutely going to have a material impact to the business and financials over the next 2 to 3 years. But for Tesla to become a multi-trillion-dollar company, it's not going to happen from selling more cars. It's not even going to happen from selling more megapacks. It's going to happen because Tesla rolls out unsupervised FSD at scale, and Optimus is sold to other companies and customers at scale. And I know that's an oversimplification, but it was important for me to say this today because I know there are people out there that are frustrated and somewhat panicking and they're not sure what to do. And of course, I'm not trying to tell anyone what to do. I'm just trying to offer up a framework that might help even one person think about this whole situation. Because I know, as well as anyone, it is so easy to get lost in the noise and the drama and you lose sight of what really matters. So we might have a turbulent couple weeks or months ahead of us, but as I said, if you're a long-term investor, meaning you have a time frame of another 5+ years, these changes we're talking about right now just do not impact the future valuation numbers that we're all expecting Tesla is capable of achieving. In China, Tesla has made the offerings for the long-range Model 3 and Model Y a bit better. The Model Y pricing will be the same, but the Model 3 pricing for the long-range variant has gone up $1,400. But that vehicle now gets an extra 25 miles of CLTC range, so call it 10 to 15 miles of EPA range, and the acceleration goes from 4.4 seconds down to 3.8. They're saying the increase in speed is because the acceleration boost package is now included as standard. The Model Y gets an extra 20 miles of CLTC range, so again, 10 to 12 miles of EPA, but the acceleration and the price of that long-range vehicle stay the same. The CEO of Xiaomi just said Tesla is indeed amazing. It has led industry trends in many areas, especially FSD. We still have a lot to learn. Speaking of China, we got got the weekly data for Tesla, it came in at 20,680 for the week. Compared to the same week in Q1, that number was 20,700. So quarter over quarter, Tesla China is down 4.9%. Week 13 of Q2 last year came in at 14,100. So year over year, Tesla China is down 11%. But looking at the year-to-date figures, year over year, Tesla China is down 4.6%, which means yes, Tesla is indeed closing this gap. The breakdown for the week: 5,470 Model 3, 15,210 Model Y. This was the best week of the quarter and the second best week of the year. But clearly, the last week of the quarter, Tesla makes a push for domestic deliveries. We got Ford's Q2 sales data for the United States, and looking at their full EV sales, it's down 11.8% year to date. The actual number, just under 39,000, whereas last year it was just over 44,100. No surprise, their hybrid sales are up 27.4%. The Mach-E is down 2% year over year. Year to date, the number's 21,800. The F-150 Lightning is down 16.7% year to date. The actual number is just over 13,000, which means the F-150 Lightning is on track to do about 26,000 sales for the year in the US at this pace. Their E-Transit van is down 33.8%, coming in at 4,200 units for the first half of the year. So Ford's fully electric vehicle sales in the US are also all trending in the wrong direction.
What do you feel about, do people want to give up the experience of driving? Is there a romance?
Well, that is a great question. I kind of think of driving as one of those things in our daily lives that you can master. And it's a very human thing to want to master something. Maybe walking, and maybe painting, and maybe reading. But driving, to me, is something that a lot of us take great pride in mastery. And it is a skill. And I actually worry about how much autonomy is the right level of autonomy before we start losing the basic skills of awareness in a car. And we have to be very careful. I believe very strongly in driving a car is a mastery event, and autonomy is fantastic. It can supplement a lot of the boring miles where people get distracted, but it can't substitute good driving. As a car company with our reputation, we have to be very careful about.
Excuse me? Listen. I actually love driving. I really do. Most of the time I enjoy it. But I have to say what Farley just said here is an absolute cope. I mean, he literally said that autonomy cannot replace good driving. First of all, I don't even know what that means. Second of all, that's exactly what it's going to do. Over time, it's going to take all of these terrible drivers off the road that cause thousands and thousands of deaths every year. This is all just marketing corporate speak from Jim Farley. And look, I understand he has a role. He's going to say what he has to say. It's really just a way to paint Ford as taking this transition nice and slow because we care about the end customer, which to some degree is certainly true. But to a bigger degree, it's because they don't know what the right approach is, because they don't have the right software and AI talent, and because their organization is not built or able to take big risks. It's painfully obvious Farley and Ford are just fearful right now. They don't want to make a huge bet and have it turn out to be the wrong one, which should really tell us everything we need to know about where Ford's going to end up over the next decade. But yes, this was that conversation. We pulled some quotes from yesterday. I'll have the full video linked below. This may be an afterthought, but for whatever it's worth, we have an EV advocacy group urging the House to revise the bill that was just passed by the Senate that is indeed set to end the EV tax credit on September 30th. The Electrification Coalition said killing the credits driving much of the nation's manufacturing investment at this critical juncture would effectively wave the white flag of defeat, ceding control over the future of transportation to China. Which is perfect timing for this one. Toyota is now tapping the brakes on plans to build electric vehicles in the US to free up manufacturing capacity for a popular gas-powered SUV. It's somewhat comical too because this electric SUV from Toyota was supposed to be made in Indiana in 2027, but they're already pushing it back to 2028 and saying now it'll be made in Kentucky. Instead of that, Toyota is now going to make more Grand Highlander SUVs, which is gas only or hybrid. We also got GM's sales data for Q2 of this year, also in the US. We're just going to focus on their year-to-date numbers. 2025 is this column here, and the far right column is the percentage change year over year. Their Cadillac Escalade IQ EV sold 3,800 units so far year to date. No sales data for last year. The Cadillac Lyriq sold 9,300 units compared to 13,000 last year, so that vehicle is down 29% year over year. The Cadillac Optiq has done 4,900 sales so far this year, and the Vistiq came in at 1,700. The Chevy Blazer EV did 12,700 units, which is up 76% year over year. The Bolt EV is just scraps as they await the new model after the prior one was discontinued. But look at this, they have a little bit of traction with the Equinox EV selling 27,700 units in the first half of the year, which is up over 2,600%. That's still only about 4,600 units per month, but it's certainly progress for GM. Their Silverado EV is up 67%, but the actual unit number was only 5,400, so on pace to do just about 10,000 units for the year. The Hummer EV, including the pickup and SUV, was up 73% year over year, coming in just under 8,000 units, and the Sierra EV did 2,800 units. But GM is now the number 2 EV manufacturer, and Chevy is the number 2 EV brand. In the first half of the year, GM's EV sales were 78,200, up 104%, and they have an estimated EV market share of 13%. And remember, Ford has only sold about 39,000 EVs in the US in the first half of the year. So GM has sold nearly twice as many fully electric vehicles so far this year in the US. So I'll give a little tip of the cap to GM. They're actually making some progress on fully electric vehicles, and a lot more than Ford. But I think both companies would tell you the traction for these fully electric pickup trucks has just not caught on as I'm sure they were hoping. So clearly it's not just the Cybertruck that is struggling to break out, but the Silverado EV and the Sierra EV, the F-150 Lightning, don't really have a chance of coming anywhere close to doing even 50,000 units for the year. There's a software version rolling out in Australia, 2025.20.100, which may have an undocumented change where when you arrive at a supercharger, you don't have to press the button on the charger handle. As this user said, when they opened their door at the supercharger, it automatically opened the charge port as well. So we'll see if this feature goes to a wide rollout soon. Tesla stock closed the day at $300.71, down 5.34%, while the NDX was down 0.89%. The volume was 25% above the average. Hope you guys have a wonderful day. Please like the video. If you did, you can find me on X, linked below, and a huge thank you to all of my Patreon supporters.